Okay, good evening everyone, and thank you for joining us. We'll begin our open session this evening with approval of the agenda. Any additions or deletions?
I had an addition, just a question about when we mail out letters for interest charges on late payments. Just that question.
I just asked Marlene the same question.
Oh, okay. I'm assuming we might have got a similar
Yeah,
message.
probably. So we can talk to Marlene. That particular, she's not sure what happened.
Okay, so we don't need to talk about it. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right.
You can always tell people that they can contact the office or.
I know, but I said I'd bring it up.
Yeah. And we have an addition to Schreiber Volunteer Fire Department request.
Under reports,
Under reports, yeah, okay.
number 10.
Okay, any disclosures of interest this evening? We have no delegations this evening, so resolution number 168-20 moved by Councillor Stafuric, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that the minutes of the council and committee of the whole meeting held June the 9th, 2020 be accepted as circulated. All in favor? Resolution number 169-20 moved by Councillor Morrow, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that council approve the expenditure request and approval to proceed from the Ontario Clean Water Agency for a new soda ash pump in the amount of $9,000, including applicable taxes. All those in favor? Thank you. Resolution number 170-20 moved by Councillor Mullins, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that council approve the appointment of Kathy Coyle and Ted Jordan as members of the senior committee for the term of council ending November 30th, 2022. All those in favor? Resolution number 171-20 moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that council approve the appointment of Paula Hiller as a member of the Beautification Committee for the term of council ending November 30th, 2022. All those in favor? Carried. Resolution number 172-20 moved by Councillor Stafuric, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that bylaw 23-2020 being a bylaw to set tax ratios for prescribed property classes for the year 2020 be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All in favor? Resolution number 173-20, moved by Councillor Mullins, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that bylaw 24-2020, being a bylaw to adopt a policy for sale and other disposition of land and to rescind bylaw 4-2007, be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All those in favor? Resolution number 174-20, moved by Councillor Morrow, seconded by Councillor Mullins, that bylaw 25-2020, being a bylaw authorizing the execution of a service agreement between the Township of Schreiber and Skyline Atlantic Canada, 169092 Canada Incorporated, be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All those in favor? Resolution number 175-20, moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Stafuric, that bylaw 26-2020, being a bylaw to regulate the maintenance of land in the Township of Schreiber, be given first, second, third, and final reading and enacted. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. That brings us to a close the council portion of the meeting. We'll move on to the committee of the whole with department reports and committee board minutes. Number one, the Green Stream funding update.
Just so for an update here, and when we're talking about grants, some good news is actually the Canada Summer Jobs Grant. We did end up getting a portion of that, not all 6, but 3. So our
That's good.
connection to the local MP's office is about working.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But with regards to ICIP, this is the second time that we've applied to ICIP grant. Before we had applied for to do our roads, and that was denied. But I was very surprised to see that this one was not selected for funding. And again, this means that Aqua is going to have to work with us to figure out how we're going to deal with the chlorine dechlorination for our wastewater. So just to put it into context, what's going on in our clarifiers right now, separating the solids from the liquids for the effluent. And we have to essentially treat that water portion before we release it back into the environment with chlorine during the summer months. And basically, MOE is saying the level of chlorine that we're gonna be emitting has to be reduced significantly. So part of this was, again, what we were trying to apply here was to get a UV lamp facility in place to, again, sanitize all that water that we'd be sending back out. Altogether, right, this is a significantly expensive project at about $1 million, with the township contributing about $300,000. The rest would have been grant money. So we're going to have to really figure out how we're going to approach this in a cost-effective manner. We'd be talking about things, whether it's getting some chlorine pucks into place, or looking at using sulfur, I believe it's sulfur dioxide, as another option. There's also ozone. There are a number of options, and Aqua will be working with us to figure out how we'll proceed with this.
What's the timeline on this?
The date that they basically were stating, if I recall, was the beginning of next year. That being said, we may have some, we do have a bit of a buffer zone, because we only have to start putting in chlorine into that water. That's, I believe, in May or April. Red can confirm.
May.
May? Okay, it's May. So we do have a bit of some time to give us a buffer zone.
Are there any other opportunities for grant money? I mean, they did say at the bottom of this message that there may be other funding available.
There is, of course, the infrastructure bank and all of that, but
Yeah.
again, those are more on the side of loans as opposed
Yeah.
to grant money, and the whole of $1 million would be a substantial amount to pay back. But again, with this, we can try to see again with our provincial and federal contacts if there are any other major funding opportunities to help us here, because they've set the standard.
Yeah.
That this is what they want to meet, and now we have to jump
Yeah, where do you
to
get the
reach
money?
there.
Where do you get the money?
Yeah,
Yep.
we're gonna have to do some lobbying for sure.
Yep, so this one is certainly something that worth, doing a lobbying for. Either, give us more time to meet this regulation, or.
Find us an avenue of funding.
Yes,
you know.
exactly.
I think-
Especially with COVID and all going on now, right, where you've seen part of the correspondences and all, where municipalities are saying, like, we would like financial assistance, right? It's certainly very difficult for us, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess next up will be our COVID guidelines, our back to work plan. Nathan?
So again, this was just this is a draft, and the whole goal with this document was for the reopening of this municipal complex. Part of, again, the difficulty here is from looking at other templates from other communities. Some are extremely brief, and that was part of the templates that we actually got from some examples, and some were a bit more on the thorough side. The one that I did was, again, much longer than I think what we have in some other communities. But that being said, there's really no guidelines put into place as to how far do we go, in terms of creating policies for COVID. This is, again, what I think is, again, the bare minimum for getting us back open. And really, again, a shout out to John Hall from Terrace Bay for sharing their back to work plan too with us. So we're able to use a lot of what they have there also. I think the things that are going to be really tricky to see is, again, how we're going to get the weight room back up again, right? That's going to be really interesting to see what the best practices are coming out for that. So there's stages in this, and I'm trying to use this as a working document where this is just the initial stage. We're going to get the plexiglass, and we can then look at reopening once again, it was always a two two things that we needed. We needed plexiglass and we needed this policy. Once the plexiglass glass gets put on, then we should be able to open this building. That being said, I'll have to still run by each department to see any sort of specific procedures that they do where we would need, specific attention to address whatever it is, those specific activities. Are there any questions?
It's an ongoing,
Complicated.
yeah, it's like a lot of said, I think I've said in the past, too, it's easy shutting things down, it's a little harder
Yeah.
getting everything back opened up again, so.
Nobody
We'll
knows
get there.
nobody knows how it's gonna go either. in the
No,
future, like,
no, that's
start
true.
spiking up again and
Yeah, we may have to go back.
day by day.
Okay, then next up is our treasurer report. Any questions there on, excuse me, from Marlene? You have any comments, Marlene, or
Nope, I think it's a pretty thorough report.
Okay.
And
yes? Okay, then if there's no questions, we'll move on to Director of Operations report. Any questions for Red?
What's the urgency and all that? Like, I added up, did some math there on all the items and crazy the amount of money that is required to fix all these items, so. What's the urgency on, like, public works garage, like,
Well, it's been like that for a couple of years now,
so,
but it should be repaired at some point.
like, that's $140,000.
Us redo the whole roof, pretty much.
So how do you figure?
We can put a Band-Aid on it, we don't know how long it'll last.
Yeah. So how
By
do you
the same
figure out
company.
where to spend the money? I mean, what's the priority? How do you figure that out?
Yeah, that again, Red was just getting quotes to see again different ways of tackling that problem, and basically we may have to go with something where we can of what we can afford, and it could be sort of Band-Aid fix that we may end up looking at. So again, whether it's heat tracers or again getting more people to provide quotes and looking at it from different angles.
So we just have the one quote on that right now.
Any other questions?
One of my bigger concerns is not so much the water main work. I mean, that's gotta be done. That's a health and safety issue for sure. And there is some other health and safety issues at the water plant, but I mean, unless it's government mandated, we gotta pace ourselves here, because we're gonna get to the end of the year and we're gonna be looking at, I don't wanna say any silly number or anything, but increase, and I think our water and sewer is right where it should be right now. And I totally understand that when the government says you shall, you will. I totally get that, but the other updates and stuff like that, I think we gotta budget for it, pace ourselves.
Pick and choose, maybe.
Well, or find out where we are with our,
Yeah, plan for these.
because I don't wanna see something ridiculous at the end of the year, big jump up in our water.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money that would be put out for all these repairs if you did it right away, so.
But some has to be done. Like, if I was getting that water in my sink, or my bathtub, I'd be saying whatever too. I understand parts of it's gotta be done.
Two more companies quoting on that job. Just spoke with them, just one this morning and one yesterday, for the water line repairs.
Oh, yeah.
Red, can you explain that term tuberculation?
That's just a rust buildup in the pipe, it just kinda grows like a
Right.
tumor inside the pipe.
Yeah. And obviously not specific
It
here,
can
I
get
mean.
bad enough that it'll close the pipe off. What happens is the surface of it starts breaking up in the water, causing
Yeah.
the water to be yellow or brown, or sometimes red.
Any other questions then? We will have to make some decisions for sure. Red, I wanted to ask you about the fence at the cemetery. There's a couple of sections where it's kind of fallen. I guess some of those clips have let go and it's sagging. I wonder if we could have somebody look at that.
Yeah, I guess we could get somebody on that.
You wouldn't mind?
Not a
Thank
problem.
you. Okay, I guess next up then is the water treatment plant filter media.
There's a recommendation to purchase filtration material for the filters at the water treatment plant. And this is for the cost of $4,282.67, including tax.
I guess that's just wear and tear, eh? You gotta replace them. So, no way around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
I'd say every couple of years.
Yeah.
is that scaffolding and then they'll have that all the time
Yes.
for that specific?
It's pretty much for that specific job.
Okay.
Whatever other repairs. Just working off the step ladder is not quite as,
No.
Kind of frown on those things.
yeah.
Okay, is everybody okay with that then?
Yeah.
Okay, our bylaw enforcement officer report. Any questions for Karen?
I just have one question. I think on a report number 5, the legal action that, to take. Now, is that something that Karen will have to make a decision on, or is there more people getting involved to decide what step?
Yeah, typically in that step 5, you know, there's a number of options there. We're talking about the two typical ones we'll go with, which would be again the either a fine or the work order.
Right.
Generally, with all of these, we want to see a corrective action taking place. So Karen and I have already had this discussion, and it's, you know, we're looking towards the work order approach in order to actually make sure that there's a change, right? As opposed to, you could find someone as many times as possible,
Yeah.
but that's not changing the problem of whatever, you know, junk it is that's still gonna be on that lot. So typically the main route which we're gonna be taking is the work order. Now, should some rare circumstances pop up where we have to go the other routes, it's not really on the top of our list to go in those two directions.
Right, okay. Now, if somebody wants to fight it in court, so will that stop the opportunity to perform a work order until that case is resolved?
That's a good question for Karen.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear.
Well, if you decide to go the work order route and somebody decides to fight the decision in court, that there is a violation?
If it goes to court, if I have to issue a summons and it goes to court, yeah, it has to go on a stop order. So the debris in the yard would still be there.
Okay, so we don't.
That's why we're looking at compliance. We want to have them to clean it up themselves rather than us taking them to court.
Okay.
Now, I can do both. I can clean it up and it can go to court.
Yeah, because it's going
Yeah.
down in this, I just read a little bit further, it says that doing the cleanup removes the violation as soon as reasonable.
Yeah.
And I just thought, are there any risks in going that way? If
What do you
somebody's,
mean,
if
risks?
somebody's fighting it in court and you go in and remove the violation.
then there's no reason to go to court because we've removed the violation.
Right, but if
I could still lay, the charges of whatever, say $400
Yeah.
a day, that would still be applicable, but the court challenge, once the violation is cleared up, we could go to court, the judge could still find, evidence, and then take into consideration the fact that they either tried to comply or didn't comply, so that would be up to the judge's decision whether or not to go forward with the, because it's, all I can do is present the evidence, and then if the prosecutor and the judge decide that there is still reason for court, then it would go.
okay,
Yeah, so I'm just the one that will, in that case for a Part 3 offense, for a summons offense, I would just present the evidence, and then it's up to the courts to decide whether or not we go forward with that.
very good. Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
I can tell you, like, the typical procedure for these any sort of land maintenance issues would be, you know, we get a complaint or notice of the issue. Karen would go out to do her inspection. She sees that that is indeed a violation of the bylaw. At that point, she would issue the order to comply, and that would have a certain notice period to say again what's wrong, how you can get it fixed up. And at that time, after that time has gone by, Karen would go back there to do a re-inspection to see if the violation was still there. And then at that time, we put out another notice saying you have however many days in order to clean up this violation, or we'll dispose whatever
Right.
this junk is. So that again is going to be again the notice for the work order. And very much, you know, we're trying to go the route of collaborating with the individuals to see the best way it is that we can address the problem.
Okay, we can move on then to the Occupational Health and Safety Committee minutes. Are there any questions on that? Okay, then, Emergency Community Support Fund grant update.
So Kathy was successful in getting this grant, and it's $7,700 in funding for the creation of the Helping Hands hampers and for the senior center. So altogether, just she's going to be working on the full project plan, but it's going to be about 200 hampers that she's looking at creating with COVID-related supplies, PPE, sanitizer, and some groceries for senior center member households. So again, it's quite lucky with the $7,700 value.
Excellent work by
Yeah, for sure.
Senior Committee.
Yes, very good. Okay, Public Library meeting minutes. Any questions from that? Hearing none, then we move into question period. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I missed that last one. Fire Department request. That's for the overhead door at Scotia Street. And quote is $5,300. How does everybody feel about that?
They just come out of the reserve for the fire department?
I don't know, Jan, would that come out of the reserve?
It was on the planning list for the 2020 capital, budget.
Oh, okay.
So what you're looking at there is an updated quote from our company that does our overhead door maintenance regularly on the town buildings. And when they were in town last June, I had them do that quote. And then when the door broke, I just phoned them up Monday and said, update it, resend it to me. So that's where that quote came from. The problem I'm having with the door is the door is over 24 foot wide. And there's only one company that makes a 24 or over 24 foot wide by 12 foot high door. And that is that Richard Wilcox company. And they've only got 2 dealers. One of them being the company we have the quote from. Now I did hear back from one other contractor this afternoon that I talked to, who was going to look into whether or not he could get a door that wide. And if he could, he wanted to quote on it within the next 3 days. So what I am recommending right now, on my recommendation, is that we just put in the line, should no other lower quotes be received before 4 p.m. 26 June.
Why would you have to get it so much the insulated door?
The R16 is because that is the only door that company makes that is available in 24-foot panels. So.
Okay, no, I was just saying,
Yeah.
you go to the cheaper door, because the building's not, the
Not
building's
normally heated.
normally heated, or will it, like, I
Well, I
don't know.
suppose if it was insulated, we'd have the option.
Okay, fair enough.
As opposed to an uninsulated door where you never want to do it.
Okay.
How's everybody's feeling?
No, they need their equipment, and you've gotta get in and out.
That's stuff you're moving in and out of that, like for seasonal equipment, you're moving in and out all the time, John?
It's, most of it is seasonal.
Yeah.
You know, we keep the quad runners and the forestry equipment are in there right now. But so is the railway's foam equipment and other items that we store on their behalf.
So you need a door.
That's why it's big doors like that, it's one thing you don't wanna fool around with, they'll kill you in an
Yeah,
instant.
You don't wanna put, you know, I need 5-6 guys to lift it
No,
up
that's,
right now.
it's a huge safety. It's
If they had to
huge.
lift it up tonight, there's a chance it would fall on them.
Yeah, that's huge, I've had some break, and it's not fun.
So everybody in favor
Yeah,
of that then?
I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Request approved. Okay, now question period. If anybody should have questions.
Send it to info@schreiber.ca.
Okay, communications, anything we wanna cover on the communications tonight?
I like to number 5.
Central
Just
Workers
to
Day.
support it.
Yeah,
That's what I thought too, Dave.
I agree.
Everybody fine with that then we'll support this resolution? Okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we already supported number 8, eh?
Or a similar one.
Or a
I
similar.
think it was armor, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe
I
so.
think so, yeah.
I believe so.
And number 6 as well, I think we
We already did that too,
already did
right?
that as well.
Yeah. Okay, then, next up is, under unfinished business is our virtual AMO conference and AGM.
There's some interest for anyone who wants to do a virtual conference or virtual delegation.
So if you sign up one person, could all of us sit here and be
Yeah.
part of that delegation?
They're saying no.
No.
They're saying no.
So
Yeah,
that,
because they want
will
to-
they just get up and leave?
You you're talking a virtual group, is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
well,
No, we could all, yeah.
I don't, that would be the only way, I don't know, I'm not,
The main thing in, you know, these delegations and all, the main purpose for me is personally being able to
Yeah.
Yeah.
be there in person. And if you remember the last one we
Yeah.
went to, Dan, you know, it's good because there's so much you can read and, you know, convey in terms of actually seeing someone's facial expressions and all, and you understand
Yeah.
whether they are being genuine with how they're, you know, approaching whatever concerns you have, or at the very least, I feel if it's just virtual, you won't know if they're just
Yeah.
gonna be shaking their head.
yeah, I don't know.
I
And it's
agree.
expensive.
I don't think it's worth it, to
It's
be
$660.
honest, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I brought up that one option.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That would be the only way I could justify.
yeah.
If there's any lobbying, I think, again, the best way to do it is, again, through our local
Yeah.
MP and MPP's
Definitely.
offices,
Yeah.
and let them know what our concerns are.
Okay, so everybody's fine with not doing a virtual?
Correct.
Alrighty.
And I'm sure all those AMO conference items will be online. You can go in
I think so, yes.
and listen to them at your leisure, correct, after the conference is over. I know it was that way last year.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, then we have no other business. So that will bring us up to adjournment. Resolution number 176-20, moved by Councillor Staffier, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that the meeting now adjourn at 7:40 p.m. All those in favor?
Is that a record, Cecile?
No,
Yeah,
it's pretty close.
very close, all right.